from all the way by California. It took an hour to get there in an hour to get back.
My God, LA traffic. The bullshit.
There was that, and then
Nisi, what's your email address?
SAENT.
SAENT.
Hold on. You want me to text it to you?
Yeah.
Okay.
Because you know my ass can't you love come and walk at the same time.
Okay.
ENT. So I just sent you a Zoom link and I'll let you in here.
My roommate stay home.
Okay. Are you in LA?
Yeah.
Okay.
I look like I'm mating right now.
Baby, look, let me tell you something. We showed the fuck up. Okay. We showed the fuck up.
Oh, let me pull it from.
Look, come on with that. Hello, get into it. Can you hear me? Are we testing? You make sure you hit your mic up at the top for your audio.
Can you hear me?
I can hear you.
Okay.
You can hear me? I know if you do.
Yeah.
All right, shit, we all.
Sorry. Are you recording right now?
We all, baby, we all. Look, let me tell you something.
Okay. Hello, y'all. Hello, darling.
Yes, darling. Yes.
Yes. You can hear me. Everything's cool. You can see me.
Yes. You're looking beautiful as always.
Thank you. Try to pull this.
Let's just go and get into it. Welcome to Showing the Fuck Up.
Show the fuck up and show.
Oh, say it one more time for the bitches in the back, Nisi.
Show the fuck up and show the fuck out.
Ow! Yes. I want to introduce one of my dearest friends that I've had the pleasure of doing life with over the last 10 years. My rich bitch sister, my most talented sister who does it all, who will be an EGOT soon, okay?
Say it again.
EGOT. Gonna be an EGOT soon because she's that damn talented. Welcome, my friend Shanice, to the motherfucking podcast of Showing the Fuck Up.
Hello.
Yes. Okay, Shanice, let the people know who you are, where you're from. Yeah. And what you do. Sorry about it.
No, you're good. Okay. My name as my fine young friend, my fine dashing brother here, just let you in on.
Yes.
Denise Antonia. I am an actress. I am a singer. I'm a songwriter. I am a dancer. I'm a director. I'm a writer.
Yes. Come on, creative. Come on, content creator.
And I'm very good at it. I like behind the scenes, in front of the scenes, a model. I dibble and dabble, and I does it well. If I do.
Yes, and she does. That's her, and she is her. Okay. Let's get into it. So today's episode is Wellness is Possible. And so here on Showing the Fuck Up is a space, a platform, a community that allows for conversation to be had, and creating the best version of yourself. Look, my man, no, I'm in the middle of a podcast and he want to call.
Oh,
Hold on, girl, babe, I'm filming the last episode. I'm in the lab.
we in the thick of it.
In the thick of it. Okay, sounds good, love. I'll be there for dinner. For sure. Okay, bye.
He gotta get home to his man's for
Girl,
him.
he was saying that he was always finished that dinner. It was a late little dinner because he knew I have to we gotta do this work. We gotta do this work. Okay. Feed the people. We gotta work come first, feed the people. So today's episode, in backtracking, this is a platform where we discuss our experiences and stories that shaped our worldview and how we move through the world today. And understanding that comes from a place of our childhood and how those experiences shaped who we are today. With that being said, I'm reading a book called What Happened to Me by Oprah Winfrey and a neuroscientist by the name of Bruce Perry. And so a lot of the scientific foundations and facts is supported by this scientist. And so not only do I want this platform and community to be a space where people can be fed through stories and experiences, but also scientific foundations to help you navigate your own system, to help you learn your own system, and to create new foundations for yourself where it's needed, right? With that being said, let's jump into it. Wellness is possible. And I know this episode is very fitting for our conversation because me knowing you, that's something you are really intentional about. In every aspect of your life, the wellness of your craft, the wellness of your body, the wellness of your voice, like you are intentional about the wellness of your relationships, your environment, what you feed yourself. And I adore that about you.
Thank you.
Yes. So my first point with this topic is, how does the individual experience what's happening, right? And as we unpack this first point of how the individual experience what's happening in the world around them, I want to provide some context to that. So there's three components of trauma: the event, the experience, and the effect. And so as you hear that, Nisi, knowing that what creates what's happening around us is the event, the experience, and then the effect that's happening. Mm-hmm. Is there any point in your upbringing that that you feel that connected you to what you do today in terms of being an artist and singing, dancing, acting? Was there any event or experience that impacted you to do what you're doing today, such as your artistry?
Okay, so as you were going into touching on the topics, or the three, what is it? The three
components that make up of the trauma, the upbringing. I'm going to call it. I mean, because when you talk about trauma, it has this negative connotation to it, right? Mm-hmm. It's like some, the bad shit that happened, but that does not necessarily. There's positive trauma as well, right? That also impacts the way that we move through life. So breaking that cliche of that negative connotation with trauma is to say that, was there any positive experiences that elicit to you being a singer, a dancer, and all of the wonderful things that you're tapping into as an adult? Is there any moment that sticks out to you that impacted you heavily enough to want to do these things?
There are quite a few. I was gonna say, as you were as you were stating, you know, the three components, I was thinking of the conversation I literally just got home from having. I was gave the producer, one of the producers, a ride home. Nice. And the close by.
She was booked and busy, y'all. Listener, she was on a commercial shoot, honey. She was booked and busy.
You know.
Yes, she's a working sister.
Working sister. Okay.
Yes. So you were having a conversation with the producer on the way home.
Yes, and I've had a long day, y'all. So I'm just you know, we get into those moments and those periods of the day where I'm tired. I'm talking.
Yeah.
It was a long car ride, and I got into and just thinking out loud how, like, I think we were talking about traumas, and I was like, we were talking about kids, and like we're getting older, so we're getting to the point where it's like, okay, we're gonna have them, we're not gonna have them, and just talking about examples of women that have had them, like, later on, where not really kind of advised to have children later on, you know, it's riskier. And that just struck something in me, like, my mom was not to tell her business, but she was 40 when she had my baby sister, and I was 14. I was about 14, 15. And it's one of those traumas that kind of, like, it put a lot of strength on me, but it put a lot on me as a child as well, because it was high risk. And I don't know if y'all know my mama, but she, you know, she works some, you know.
Baby, okay, look, but we love mama, okay?
Right? We love her. Because, you know, it's funny, but, like, in all seriousness, she was high risk, and so she was kind of prepping for the worst. And so at 14, 15, she was kind of prepping me for if I was to live through it. It was to have her, you know, not be here that early. So that, like, I was telling the producer, like, I'm really reflecting on it as I'm talking about it, like, because it's something I've pushed so far in the back of my mind, I could forget it happened, because like, it's my mom, and, like, you know, it happened, and in that moment, like, I was going to school, like, I was kind of numb, but it put a lot of strength in me, like, it prepped me for the worst. Like, imagine a 14-year-old, you walking around like you know, and I know there are maybe 14, 15-year-olds that probably walk around and go to school on a day-to-day, and people have no idea that they're prepping for they're in their minds trying to make it through the day and coping with the fact that they're about to lose a parent, you know?
And with that being said, just to navigate and explore that too, is that those same coping mechanisms, or as Dr. Perry calls it, our adaptation, right? That's our adaptation to the environment, to what's happening. It could be a survival, and in not knowing that those same survival behaviors we're pulling into our adulthood, that got us through our childhood, right? And so it's interesting that you say that, because it's very important to identify those things. So when you, as an adult, you don't have to move out of that place of fear, or that high alert of response. You know, as we talk about the brain and its systems, you have, you know, the stress response systems that's within your neural network. And it's responsible for how you respond in these adversities. And so the groundworks that was laid as a child, that you were given to get through these adversities and traumas, may not serve you as an adult, as you face your experience as an adult. And so that brings me to my second point. We talk about adverse childhood experience, you know, and that was a great experience to pull from, of, you know, and I think women overall, the biological clock, so to speak, right? And as only a woman can experience that and know what those angst and frustrations and so with that being said, that correlates to your health,
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
right?
Mm-hmm.
How that
Correct.
manifests is how your health is, how your mental health is.
Mm-hmm.
And with that being said, as an adult, and you can pick back up on your story with the producer because I think you were hitting on something. Now, do you feel as though you've laid new groundwork for yourself?
Mm-hmm. Absolutely. I think, I don't, well, y'all, I have noticed, my friend, LaQuinn, you notice, you are very observant,
Yeah.
and vocally observant about your friends and the people that you love.
Yeah.
So I think you also notice, like, I notice people notice things on me that I don't know that they notice.
Amen. 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 And that's what I mean from the Shanice that I knew 10 years ago going into college is completely different. Completely different. Bitch, baby, the Niecy that I knew going to baby will ride on your ass quicker than you can say the word ride. You hear me? But now you take a beat, you're thoughtful, and super mindful. And that's why I say this is so fitting, this episode, in terms of wellness is possible, because I feel that's what you've displayed to me in our relationship is that if you're committed to your growth, and honey, you was the bag lady, and not just you didn't just grow in regards of your relationships and you take nurturing them, and you've always been a nurturer, but you really nurturing your relationships and being mindful of them and taking time out for them, but also in your professional career. Mm-hmm. You've nurtured it and you've given it wellness. Honey, I remember, baby, you would have about 5 motherfucking bags, going about 3 different jobs, and still found time to give yourself wellness, while on the hustle and bustle and grind.
And I love that you like, it's friends like you are so important, because like it takes friends like LaQuentin to stop somebody like me who they see, like, you see me going and going and going and going, and be like, hold on, wait a minute. Are you drinking water? Yeah. And you think, like, I was doing my best then, but I was very much operating back then out of like survival.
Yeah.
And
but now she drinking turmeric, motherfucking turmeric, and daily.
Healthy now.
Let me tell you something. You thriving now. You ain't surviving, baby. You thriving now. You on rich bitch vibes. Okay.
And that's what I want to see and hear from here on out. Okay. We want to go forward, not backwards.
Amen. And with that being said, I love that, because when we talk about wellness and its possibilities, I want to lay out some frameworks to perhaps discover and discuss and give to our listeners, right? And even to ourselves as we move through the conversation. And so with point 2, when you talk about adverse childhood experience, so there was a survey done, according to Dr. Perry, a survey done called ACE, and that is adverse childhood experience. And so with that survey, these neuroscientists, they took a group of people and did a survey. And that survey consisted of the causation, the correlation, and then the health and its risks, if it was a low or high risk, right? And it's all speaking in regards to the adversity in that childhood experience. And that contributes to the wellness of that being, of that individual, right? And so the pillars of this experience is causation, correlation, and the health and risk. And so moving from that space and knowing, what adverse childhood experience is made out of and the components it's from, moving to the space brings me to my third point is the connectedness. And we talk about relationships. When you talk about the importance of relationships, the importance of those valuable tribe members that pause you and say, hey, fill your cup up, right?
Mm-hmm.
Hey, you're doing an amazing job. Hey, girl, and it just calls you out of the blue and you're laughing and you're doing this and you're just being able to fill yourself back up. And so the third point is relational health.
Mm.
Relational health. So when it comes to your connectedness and your
Mhm.
relationships, or your relational health relationships, when you build community, what do you look for?
Ooh, when I build community, I definitely, genuity, and I will really, I just really look for if the person, if I can feel that operating off of a discernment, which not a lot of people have, it takes a lot of time to develop. And since I know how much I work on myself and the lessons that I had to learn when to like not snap on people so quickly,
Amen.
react, you know, realizing that it was affecting me. But whatever is affecting me negatively, I'm how do I work? I'm trying to word this the right way.
Mhm.
Whatever is I just had to look at myself more. And so when I look for and when I'm building community, is the person what I feel out whether or not they are a good person. I listen. I see if I just listen for if they are. Can you hear me? Okay.
Yeah.
If I can familiarize with them healing themselves and them being committed to their growth, then I know that they're a good person.
It's a good alignment because
Yeah.
it's important because birds of a feather flock together.
Yes.
Right. So what you're being poured into and that what you're around all the time, and it's important to understand that they are just as committed to the work as you are.
Yeah.
Because you're definitely growing,
Yeah.
and that's the goal.
And you always want to be growing. And I definitely look for, not to go,
Yeah. No, absolutely. That's beautiful. That's beautiful. And so that brings me to the pillars of what connectedness and perhaps some things, community, culture, family. Those things bring us, connect us, and so family. Now you can choose friends, but you can't choose family, right?
Mm-hmm.
That's as the saying is saying, said that you can't choose your family that you come into. So when you those family members that are not committed to the work, how are you continuing to do life with those members? How are you developing that wellness? Do you cut the relationship, or do you, obviously they're your family, do you still have the relationship? And if so, how do you create the wellness with that type of dynamic?
Well, since you cannot pick by birth and blood, then we don't pick. But if you are someone that is committed to your growth, your self-growth, your personal growth, and you know that you want that for somebody else, that to commit to that is also to commit to patience, because you can have your grandparent, your grandmother, your grandfather they stuck in their ways. They get to an age stuck in their ways, and they're from a different time, and they're from, and it's patience, because you have to. That's never not going to be your grandmother. Yeah. So you want the best for them. You have to come from a place of patience, and you have to come from a place of understanding. Yeah. And you try. I saw something in your notes about dosage.
Yes.
The therapeutic dosing.
Yes.
That for yourself, and you could do that for others. If you're coming from understanding, you listen, and you know how to properly react to things, so it's not affecting you. It's not you have a positive reaction to something negative or something that you might not understand clearly. You take a minute, and you try to figure out ways to convey the positive message to them, positive thing to them that's going to that's going to get them to where, is good for them, in their health, in their spirit, in their mentality.
Amen.
Because but what things that they've been through.
Right. And that brings me to point number 4, PTSD.
Right?
And so we talk about childhood trauma. In childhood trauma, we can say, it's PTSD, post-traumatic stress. It's after all the shit hit the fan and when the dust settles. So understanding that and moving through that space, like you're saying, and I think that requires you to sit with yourself and to get to know self. And to get to know your system. And that's the point of this podcast, is to be able to explore and understand how your system navigates and how it works, and the memories that you've captured and locked onto and held onto that are perhaps no longer serving you. You have to lay down new ones, are perhaps sharpen the ones you have, right? And so as we talk about PTSD, some of the components of this is intrusive symptoms. Meaning it could be images, sounds that become intrusive in the mind from the impact of the trauma, right? So intrusive symptoms is a byproduct of this PTSD, right? So there's moments in times where perhaps an images or a sound reminds you of a moment. Does that happen to you? Where where you're just in the motherfucking stove and you have a smell. That smells like my grandma.
And it'll be exact. Ooh, it's been so many times I smell something. I said, it smells like my mama house back on what you call it, so-and-so street. Ooh, that's what it used to smell like when my mama used to make that pot, that's to where when we lived.
And so what's interesting about that is that that's your, input and output sensory, right? And that also contributes to these systems. And it triggers, and that correlates and connects with your triggers and your associations. And so being able to know that about yourself, if there's certain smells or if there's certain images that trigger things, knowing that about yourself, it helps better prepare a solid foundation for your response systems.
It does. It definitely does. I was gonna say, even like with myself, like if it's not a smell or a picture from childhood, growing in my stages and your phases of growing, because it's levels, like maybe a perfume I wore when I was working 5 to 3 jobs. I ain't ever gonna wear that shit again. When I smell it, I know. Ooh,
stay away from that shit.
That was aspiring rich vibes, man. I ain't wearing that shit again.
and knowing that, but it's crazy how that shit is. I remember it's like when I go to McDonald's and I smell the kitchen, I'm like, bitch, I can't even. This is why I don't even barely eat that, because I'm like, I cannot. I remember that's early on my first job in the angst and shit that I went up, like, oh, we can never go back there again. But it's interesting how the body and brain does that, and then how it is created to serve you, to protect you. And so it's important of what these moments are made up of. It is important to know the space that you are operating of, because the state in which your mind is, that's what you're projecting. That's whatever state you're in. That's why it's important to be mindful of that state you're in. And so another symptom from this PTSD is avoiding symptoms, right? And so if a child was abused or abused by a caregiver, or as an adult, they would avoid intimacy, perhaps. Or perhaps they will self-sabotage or undermine intimate relationships based upon those traumatic events with their caregivers. And so we talk about our love relationships and why we have trouble with our love relationships and being loved and loving, right? Because a lot of us have all sorts of stories. You know, some people were abused, some people were mishandled. And so we know we self-sabotage, we don't know why,
Yeah,
right? And
because it's kind of like with the thought of where I started with my mom having my sister. It's the thought, you push it down so you avoid it. Like it's just so it's like as if it never happened. But your body is still, it's like muscle memory. It's your brain is a muscle. It's gonna remember.
it is. And that's why it's important to build strong foundations, because it is just like an athlete. The more you practice it in whatever direction that you do, it's gonna grow in that direction. And so it's
Mhm.
imperative that you are intentional about the direction that it goes in, because it is a muscle, and you are creating very momental and impactful moments for yourself. And
Yeah.
so with this, you can understand like, shit, that's why I'm avoiding and trying
Mhm.
to self-sabotage
Mhm.
and not let myself love and let myself be
Yeah.
connected in that way. And you can
Yeah.
begin to address that shit. Now, in your life, um, were there moments in regards going back to, with your mom and the high risk pregnancy, now as an adult, and do you want children?
Mhm. I
And
mean, mhm.
right.
you, you know, I feel like this is in the topic of, and it might just, I think it's just because of the biological clock.
Yeah,
But like I always said, okay, first of all, I've always said I wanted to adopt. I think I just
me too.
thought that was, yeah, I always just thought that was something very, very cool. Like there's kids out there. As a kid, I would say that, and because I was terrified of pregnancy. I only was okay and started having baby fever like once I started nannying, like in my
Right.
to be like, okay, maybe I could
I
do
can
this.
get down with this.
Yeah, I said we adopting. I had kids. I think I would push that in the back of
Yeah,
my mind,
yeah,
being pregnant and all.
yeah,
Like
yeah,
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 it was far, but
yeah.
I knew, like, of course, I wanted to at least adopt and then have kids.
Right, right,
At some point,
right.
really, really, for me, it was I want to have them when I'm stable financially and
And
I
you're
have,
ready.
or marriage,
Yeah, yeah,
the,
yeah.
and yeah.
100%. And so with that being said, you're able to explore. And the reason I ask is that because you're able to explore within oneself. Am I avoiding certain things? Am I avoiding certain, because the whole purpose is to be whole,
Mm-hmm.
right? Is to be whole
Mm-hmm.
with oneself. And so we can't leave out this area, because it's so delicate. It's and so with it is to say, even if you are experiencing some of these symptoms from PTSD, it's okay, because they're symptoms from PTSD. And
Mm-hmm.
it's about understanding and identifying those symptoms and saying to yourself, okay, I see the correlation. I see, because perhaps that anxiety that it created as a kid every day, not knowing, it was unpredictable. And that, Dr. Perry talks about how important predictability is for the mind, for it to be able to predict what
Mm-hmm.
is happening, because that is going to determine, going back to point two, that adverse childhood experience in terms of health, and how big that risk is. That's going to determine that level of risk,
Mm-hmm.
for that child that he or she are experiencing.
Mm-hmm.
Um,
Because think about it, not to just
no, please do.
when you're carrying a child, think about like the things that, like, you passing that on. If you're not healed, you passing it on
And it's
genetic.
recycled. And
Yeah.
and that's what we're trying to steer away from, is to
Mm-hmm.
say, let's do the work today. So
Mm-hmm.
therefore, the foundation that is created for these babies that's moving into the space now is to really, from a clean start.
Mm-hmm.
It's not self-projected stuff that you went through as a kid, that now you trying to get your child You know,
Mhm.
it's really a clear space of understanding who you are and understanding your role in that child's life, and how impactful that role is.
Mhm.
And so that brings me to the next key point in terms of the PTSD symptoms: changes in mood and thinking.
Mhm.
And that's a symptom as we experience, and that's why I talk about the state that you're in. It's so important. And that's why that tribe is so important, because they contribute to that state, those,
Yeah.
that state that you're in. And so always going up and down in mood and being able to understand, hey, don't be so hard on yourself, because that's a fucking symptom that comes from all that trauma. And so realizing that, hey, okay, if I know that my mood is triggered, and that's why it's important to learn your system, learn your associations, your triggers, because
Yeah.
that's what's dictating those moods.
Yes. I know if I go around that person that does those things, I'm like, I'm gonna be in a mood that I don't want.
And I was slide that bitch under the bus. I'm gonna slide the bitch under the bus, because I can't do it no more. I just can't do it. But that's it. And it's and also the last key point I wanted to touch on was an alteration in arousal and reactivity, right? And
Mhm.
so an arousal response or a reactive response.
Mhm.
An
Mhm.
arousal response is an immediate of emotion and feeling.
Yeah.
Reactive is factors of just how impactful that experience has been in terms of the messages that is directly sending your system, your stress response system, and it being reactive. And so with wrapping this up, as the preachers say, we landed.
Mhm.
I wanted to ask in regards to, are there any things that you started to do in your adult life that has contributed a positive impact in terms of maybe perhaps, how do you fill yourself up is my question. How do you fill yourself up with understanding we know these moments and memories that we're creating are impactful. So when you're moving about, if it's going to a commercial set, or if it's going to a film set or dancing, how do you fill yourself up? How do you keep yourself full?
Now, it ain't for everybody. It ain't for everybody, but
Amen. Amen. And hey, at the end of it, and that's what this is. It's to say that, hey, you gotta find,
Mhm.
and one of the previous guests on episode 1, I like how she says it. It's really not so, she says it's really not so much filling your cup up, it's about having enough support in that cup for you, what supports
Mm.
you.
Mm.
Um,
I like that. I like that.
yes, me too. And because I think, that is important of how you fill yourself up, how
Yeah.
you, or even to her extent, is how do you support yourself through
Right.
moving through the space with so much happening and understanding that it all is contributing, to your everyday.
Well, I make sure that I fill myself up. I was gonna say it's not for everybody, but and it is though. It is because I listen to myself, and I
Mm,
people don't listen to themselves and what they may need, and you know, started with it's not for everybody because it still comes with structure. You still have to prioritize, but you just have to make sure you're making time for what it is your mind and your body need. So, like, just listening to yourself. Like, I know I need a bath, right? I know
amen.
I know sooner or later I need a bath, or I'm gonna break down.
Yeah.
I won't be operating from a full cup. or I won't be operating as best as I.
And something so simple of taking care of yourself, and that you're creating nurturing moments for yourself. And Dr. Perry talks about how important those moments that you create, and that is a part of developing new foundations.
Yeah.
If those old ones are no longer serving you,
Right.
even if it's small or great, it's you finding those moments that nurtures you.
Mm-hmm.
And I love that. I 100% love that.
It's little things, yeah.
Yeah.
Little things that I know are gonna make me happy because I can't make anybody else happy if I'm not, so.
100%. I love that. We gonna recap. We're gonna recap today's episode and how wellness is possible. First point we hit on was how the individual is experiencing what is happening, right? And so understanding that it's three components that contributes to trauma. That's the event, the experience, and the effect, the impact. And second point, we talked about the adverse childhood experience, it being made up of the causation of that experience and the correlation and the health and the risk exposure to that adverse childhood experience. And thirdly, we talked about relational health, being connectedness with your tribe, your community, your culture, your family, and how that can contribute as well to your wellness. Or even if you have disruptive members in that community or family, how to go about dosing and setting boundaries so you are able to maintain healthy relationships and creating that grace you'll need or patience that you need that you spoke of earlier. And how valuable those components are to the development and growth of an individual. And so creating that shows your love and shows your commitment to the wellness of that relationship. And so those are some ways to create wellness, is to give grace and patience. Because a lot of us, not a lot of us, all of us have went through some sort of PTSD and adverse childhood experience. So we need love, we need grace. And I think those are important. Lastly, the last point we tapped on was PTSD symptoms and identifying those symptoms, such as being intrusive symptoms, such as images, sounds that may correlate or trigger past-hood traumas, or avoiding symptoms, such as you may have been abused by your caregiver and now you're avoiding intimate relationships, or you're self-sabotaging yourself. These are all symptoms from your trauma. And so therefore you're able to identify that and make peace with that trauma. So therefore you can lay new foundations for yourself and not have to avoid. And you can show the fuck up.
Show out.
Show out, baby. Yes. And we can keep those moods in our thinking at a high vibration. Because it affects, the mood and thinking that we are in. So to keep that at a high vibration, we must show up and show the fuck out for ourselves. And that's understanding that adverse childhood experience and understanding the symptoms from that trauma, and how to best navigate it and rebuild and restructure for yourself. That wraps us up. And at the end of each episode, we like to have sprinkleable moments. Oprah calls them tweetable. We say sprinkleable, baby. Okay?
Sprinkleable, baby.
Yes. Let's get into it. The first sprinkleable moment is the timing of the adverse will determine the level of risk. So, example, trauma happening at the age of 2 will have more impact on the health than the same trauma at the age of 17. And so the time of which that trauma occurred, as you move through this week and as you show up for yourself and do the work every day, remember that the time of whatever event that could have you stuck or have you puzzled, it determines the level of risk. And so be easy on yourself and know that those early on childhood traumas, you had no control over. And so you can give yourself permission to let go of them, and encourage yourself to lay down new roots that will serve you. Your history of relational health, your connectedness to your family, community, and culture is more predictive of your mental health than your history of adversity. So I'm gonna say that again, because that is connecting to our point number 3 when it talks about relational health and connectedness in terms of community, culture, and family. So that sprinkle moment again, it says your history of relational health. So your history with your family, your culture, and your connectedness to those groups is more predictive of your mental health than your trauma. So that means what you said earlier, that community is super important, is super vital, because that is more of a reflection of what your mental health will look like more than the history of your adversity.
Right.
Because those people are pouring into you daily. Connectedness has the power to counterbalance adversity. So relationships are valuable, they are important, and in fact, they counterbalance the adversity that we face because we get to do life together. We don't have to be alone, and feeling alone, and knowing that you are connected to a larger purpose. Next, we talked about this early on in the episode, therapeutic dosing leads to healing. And that's what Nisi was talking about, being able to, if you have that member or that friend that it's a bit challenging to do life with because they're not as committed to their work, is to say therapeutic dosing. Give yourself moments to withdraw and to retreat and then get back to it. And even on your own healing journey, give yourself moments to retreat and let it process, because as we have learned in previous episodes of the podcast, how information is being traveled through the brain. It goes from the brain stem, which is the low part of our brain. And that's not that is the low vibrational part of our brain. That's where the feeling and reaction is. And a lot of us get stuck there, and we don't allow that information to travel to the top, the cortex, where you can think and you can plan and you can be creative. Most of the time we get stuck at the bottom. We get reactive because that's where all that trauma is sitting right there. And you just get stuck. So understanding understanding that. So understanding how that process is. So therapeutic dosing leads to healing. And again, the thousands of brief positive moments of therapeutic experiences through relationships provides the rewarding, regulating, and healing experiences that helps us.
Amen.
So all of these moments, positive moments that we're having, these positive therapeutic moments that we're having, they're contributing to our reward bucket. And it's regulating our system and our healing experience and helping us along the way. So I'll encourage you to continue to create these positive moments for yourself, because only you will create them, and you can create them. Lastly, we'll leave you with this for your week. Timing is vital to our core neurosystems as we move into healing and creating a more rhythmic, healthy system. So give yourself the space and time you need. We live in a society that is instant, that we ought to be already at the end goal of healing. We ought to already be over what our mama and daddy did. We ought to already be over what slavery did. We ought to already be over. Give yourself time and space to properly meet those things where they are and make peace with them. give yourself time and space to heal and to feel what you have to feel, so therefore you can move forward. I appreciate you. Lovely,
This is
lovely.
great talk. This is some dosing therapy right here.
Dosing therapy. So you can take your bubble bath with your candles, your aromatherapy, and zen out and just be able to be at peace. Releasing, we were able to release some things and gain some things. I'm so grateful that you joined me on Showing the Fuck Up. As you always do, so
You know I'm gonna show
so elegantly and gracefully and tastefully.
Thank you so
my
much for
queen.
having me.
Yes,
Of
it's a
course.
pleasure. And you will be back again.
Very soon, y'all. Very soon.
And on that note, rich bitch vibes.
Rich bitch vibes.
Have a good night. I love you, boo.
I love you.
Bye.
Bye.